You know, I never thought I'd be the kind of person to share something like this. I mean, when you spend 6 years of your life with someone, loving them, believing in them, carrying them through every storm, you don't picture it ending like this. But here I am, telling you a story I never thought I'd have to tell. A story about love, patience, betrayal, and a reality check that hit harder than I ever saw coming. This isn't just about a breakup.
It's about what happens when you give everything to someone who thought they could just take and take and take. Until one day, you realize the person you've been fighting so hard for, they were never fighting for you at all. So, if you've ever loved somebody a little too much, if you've ever stayed a little too long, if you've ever been the one holding everything together while someone else just drifted along, this story is for you.
I've been with Nick for 6 years. 6 whole years. It's crazy when I say it out loud because it feels like a lifetime and a blink all at once. 6 years of believing, hoping, sacrificing. 6 years of standing beside a man who was always chasing the next big thing, the next dream, the next sure bet that would change our lives forever. And me? I guess I was the one quietly stitching the pieces together every time his dreams fell apart. When we first met, Nick was magnetic. That kind of energy that pulls you in before you even realise what's happening. He talked about his plans with such fire, such certainty. I wanted to believe in him, and for a long time, I really, truly did. He wanted to be a YouTuber at first. He said he was going to be the next PewDiePie, laughing and tossing out ideas like candy. I watched him stay up late, editing videos that barely cracked 100 views. I cheered anyway, told him he was amazing, because back then I thought love meant always being their biggest fan, no matter what. Then it was NFTs. He promised me we were getting in early, that we'd be ahead of the curve. I listened as he threw around words like blockchain and investment, like he was some tech genius. He poured everything he had into it, and lost it all just as fast. And then, of course, there was crypto. Another roller coaster, another heartbreak, mostly mine. While Nick chased dreams, I was chasing bills. Mortgage? Me. Utilities? Me. Groceries, car payments, every single real-world thing that kept us afloat. Me. Always me. It wasn't just about money either. It was the emotional weight, the constant pressure of keeping everything stable, keeping us standing, while he floated from one fantasy to the next. Every new idea came wrapped in wide, hopeful eyes, and I swallowed my doubts like bitter pills. This time will be different, he'd say. And somehow, I wanted so badly to believe him, I ignored every red flag waving right in front of my face. Looking back now, I don't even know when exactly I stopped being his partner and started being his safety net. But somewhere along the way, it happened. I thought we were building a life together. Turns out I was just building a life around someone who was never really standing beside me. And the worst part, I didn't even realise it, until it was way too late. For a long time, I told myself that love meant sacrifice, that if I just held on a little longer, things would finally fall into place. But deep down, I think I knew. I knew I was holding on to someone who wasn't holding on to me. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to believe it. And when the signs started showing, when Nick started pulling away, finding fault in everything, I still kept making excuses. Looking back now, that was the beginning of the end. It started small. Little things I could have brushed off if I wasn't so damn used to brushing everything off. Nick was different, colder somehow. Distracted, always glued to his phone, barely looking up when I came home from work. At first I figured maybe he was deep in another one of his projects. Maybe he'd finally found something worth pouring himself into. God, part of me was even happy about it. Hopeful that maybe, just maybe, he'd found a real direction this time. But then the comments started. Small, cutting remarks, tossed out like they meant nothing. About the dishes in the sink, the laundry not folded fast enough, the shoes I left by the door after working a 12-hour shift. You could at least try to keep the place nice, he muttered once, not even looking up from his phone. I remember just standing there, frozen, like I didn't even know how to respond. This man, the same man who hadn't paid a bill in years, who spent most of his days gaming or chasing another dead-end idea, was criticizing me for being tired. I told myself it was just stress. Maybe he was overwhelmed. Maybe he needed space. Maybe he needed me to be more understanding, as if I hadn't been carrying the weight of both of us for years. The space between us grew wider by the day. He stopped asking how my day was. He stopped noticing when I came home late, drained and heavy. He stopped being the man who once, long ago, made me feel seen. And I stopped talking too. Stopped reaching for him. Because what was the point when he barely seemed to notice I was even there? Then one night, I caught a glimpse of his phone screen over his shoulder. It wasn't anything obvious, no texts or secret apps, but the way he tilted the screen away, the way his whole body stiffened, I knew. Maybe not the full truth yet, but I knew something was coming, something ugly. I went to bed that night with a knot in my stomach I couldn't untangle. Lying next to him, feeling the space between us like a canyon, I realised something that hurt worse than anything he could have said. I wasn't his partner anymore. I wasn't even part of his plans. I was just there. A piece of the background he was already imagining without me in it. And somewhere deep inside, even though I didn't have all the facts yet, I knew my world, the world I fought so damn hard to build with him, was about to crack wide open. I wish I could tell you I was ready for what came next, that I saw it coming, that I had some kind of plan, but the truth is, nothing could have prepared me for how fast it all unravelled. 1 minute, I was telling myself it was just a rough patch, and the next, Nick was sitting across from me at our kitchen table, looking me in the eyes like a stranger, about to flip my whole world upside down. If you think the worst part was him leaving, you're wrong. The worst part was what he said, and what he thought he could take with him when he walked out that door. Stick around, because trust me, this story's just getting started. It happened on a Thursday night, the kind of night where you're too tired to argue, too tired to think, just praying for a quiet evening and maybe a hot shower before bed. I walked through the door, tossed my keys into the bowl like always, kicked off my shoes, and there he was, Nick, sitting at the kitchen table, his hands folded neatly in front of him, like he was waiting for some kind of meeting to start. My heart dropped into my stomach. I didn't even know why yet, but I knew. I knew something bad was coming. He didn't waste time. "I think we should break up," he said. Just like that. No hesitation, no emotion. Like he was cancelling a subscription, not ending a 6-year relationship. I actually laughed at first. I thought he was joking, some awful, twisted attempt at humour. But when he didn't even blink, when he just stared at me with that blank, detached face, the laughter died in my throat. And then, as if that wasn't enough, he kept going. "You don't do enough around the house," he said, in that same cold, matter-of-fact voice. "I feel like I'm carrying all the emotional labour." I swear, for a second, I thought I might have blacked out. The room tilted. I had to grip the back of the chair just to stay standing. Was he serious? Me? The one working overtime to keep us afloat while he played entrepreneur from the couch? The one paying every single bill while he reorganised the bookshelf and called it being productive? I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw every unpaid invoice, every grocery receipt, every late-night breakdown in his face. But instead, I just stood there, blinking at him, realising for the first time that Nick hadn't just stopped loving me. He had rewritten the whole story in his head. He had made me the villain. And it got worse. Way worse. Because after he delivered his little speech, after he decided he was the martyr walking away from a toxic relationship, he started talking about how things would be so much better once I moved out. He started planning, right there at my own kitchen table, how he was going to turn the guest room into his new office, how he might get a dog now that there wouldn't be anyone to complain about the mess, how this place was going to be the perfect spot for his fresh start. It hit me like a freight train. He really thought, he really believed. This house was his, the house I inherited from my grandparents, the house with my name on the deed, the house I had paid for, maintained, fought for. Nick had no claim to it. Not one single piece of paper tied him to this home. And yet, he sat there, dreaming about a future he had no right to. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just smiled. The coldest, calmest smile I think I've ever managed in my entire life. Because deep down, I knew something he clearly didn't. He thought he was kicking me out. He had no idea. He was the one about to lose everything. I could have screamed. I could have begged him to see what he was throwing away. But I didn't. I just smiled. Because right then, standing in my own kitchen, watching him plan a life without me in it, I realised something. He had no idea what was about to hit him. No clue how badly he had just screwed himself over. And the best part? I didn't have to lift a finger to destroy his fantasy. All I had to do was let reality do the talking. What happened next? Let's just say, Nick's little dream of playing king in my house. It didn't exactly go the way he thought it would. Stick around. Because trust me, the next part of this story is where everything starts to fall apart in ways you wouldn't believe. The morning after his little breakup speech, I woke up with a kind of clarity I hadn't felt in months, maybe even years. Nick was still asleep in the bedroom we used to share, sprawled across the bed like he didn't have a single care in the world, like he hadn't just dropped a bomb on my life the night before, like he hadn't already started making plans for my house, without me in it. I sat there for a minute staring at him, and something inside me just clicked. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to argue. I was done. I picked up my phone, hands steady, and called a locksmith. "How soon can you get here?" I asked. He showed up less than an hour later. Quick, efficient. Didn't ask any questions. Just changed every single lock on every single door. When he was done, I handed him cash, thanked him, and sat down at the kitchen table. Waiting. It didn't take long. Nick stumbled out of the bedroom around noon, rubbing his eyes, yawning like a man who had no idea his world was about to shift under his feet. He didn't even notice the new locks at first, just wandered into the kitchen, grabbed a drink, and plopped down across from me like everything was fine. I sipped my tea calmly. Then I said it. The words I'd been waiting to say for way, way too long. "By the way," I said, my voice almost too casual, "I changed the locks this morning." He blinked at me, confused, like I'd just spoken another language. "What do you mean you changed the locks?" he asked, laughing a little like it was a joke. I leaned back in my chair, smiled. "I mean," I said, "you don't live here anymore, Nick. You've got until the end of the day to grab your stuff and go." The colour drained from his face so fast it was almost impressive. "You can't do that," he stammered. "This is my house too." I tilted my head, pretending to think. "Is it?" I said. "Because last time I checked, your name's not on the deed, not on the mortgage, not on a single damn bill." He tried everything. Anger, begging, guilt trips. "I thought you loved me," he said, voice cracking, like he was the victim here. And maybe, once upon a time, that would have worked. Maybe I would have folded. Maybe I would have let him stay and keep sucking the life out of me one apology at a time. But not anymore. Not this time. I stood up, walked over to the front door, and opened it wide. "You have until sunset," I said softly. "After that, I'm calling the cops." He packed in silence. I watched from the living room, arms crossed, as he shoved clothes and gaming gear into trash bags, moving like a man who couldn't quite believe this was happening. At one point he stopped and looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw it, the exact moment it hit him. He wasn't the king of this castle. He wasn't even a guest anymore. He was nothing but a memory, packing himself out of my life, one garbage bag at a time. By the time the sun touched the edge of the trees, he was gone. Standing there in the driveway with a few bags, a busted gaming chair, and nowhere left to go. He looked back once, one last, desperate, pathetic glance. I didn't wave, I didn't smile, I didn't say a word. I just closed the door and locked it. For the first time, in a long, long time, I finally felt free. I wish I could tell you that was the end. That kicking him out, locking that door, pouring myself a glass of wine, and sinking into the couch was my happy ending. For a while, it felt like it was. The silence, the space, the overwhelming sense of freedom. But people like Nick, they don't go quietly. No, they twist. They claw. They rewrite the story until they're the hero and you're the villain. And it didn't take long before the rumours started. The lies. The pathetic little attempts to make me the bad guy. At first I thought about ignoring it. About letting him spin his sad little tales while I moved on. But the more he talked, the more I realised he wasn't just trying to save face, he was trying to erase the truth. And that, I couldn't let slide. Stay with me, because if you thought this was wild, you're not ready for what came next. At first I thought it was over. Nick was gone. The house was quiet. I had my space back, my peace back. Or so I thought. It started small. Little looks. Weird energy when I ran into people we both knew. A few awkward conversations where friends acted strange, like they were dancing around something but didn't want to say it. Then Caleb, bless him, called me one night. "You might want to know," he said, sounding uncomfortable as hell. "Nick's been telling people you cheated, that you kicked him out of his own house, that you stole everything he worked for." I sat there on the floor of my living room, listening, not even knowing whether to laugh or scream. Cheated? Stole his house? I wanted to believe it was just gossip, that no one would actually fall for it. But deep down, I knew better. Nick wasn't just licking his wounds. He was rewriting the story, turning himself into the victim and me into the monster. And some people, the ones who didn't know better, they believed him. It hit me harder than I expected. After everything I'd done, after everything I'd sacrificed, I was still the bad guy in someone else's story. At first I told myself it didn't matter. Let him talk. Let him drown in his own bitterness. But then I thought about it more, and the rage started to simmer. This man lived off me for 6 years. I paid the mortgage. I kept the lights on. I put food in the fridge while he chased dreams that never went anywhere. And now he was painting me as the villain. No, not this time. I pulled up every piece of proof I had. Mortgage documents, utility bills, receipts for groceries, repairs, car payments, all with my name on them. Photos of the house deed, bank statements. I organised it all, laid it out so clean and cold there could be no argument. Then I crafted one single, polite, devastating group message. "Hi everyone, just wanted to clear up a few things Nick's been saying. Here are some facts and documents if you're curious. No drama, just setting the record straight." And I attached everything. The response was immediate. My phone blew up with texts and calls, people apologising, people furious they'd been lied to. Friends who had started to believe Nick's lies now furious that they ever doubted me. Nick, on the other hand, silent, not a word. I heard through the grapevine he tried to backpedal, tried to play the misunderstood card, but it was too late. The truth was out, and it spoke louder than any story he could spin. And for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't the one cleaning up someone else's mess. I wasn't the one fixing what he broke. I was standing on my own 2 feet. And Nick, he was the one slipping, fast. And trust me, his fall was only just beginning. You'd think after being exposed like that, after everyone saw the truth laid out in black and white, Nick would finally back down, move on, start picking up the pieces of his own life for once. But no, Nick wasn't done. Not even close. See, people like him, they don't know how to lose gracefully. They double down. They dig the hole deeper, thinking if they just scream loud enough, someone will still believe them. And what he tried next, it wasn't just desperate. It was downright pathetic. Stay with me, because if you thought the lies were bad, wait until you hear the lengths he went to, just to keep pretending he hadn't lost everything. You'd think after getting exposed, after having every lie he told dragged out into the light, Nick would finally back off, admit defeat, disappear quietly. But no, not Nick. Instead, he did what cowards always do when the truth doesn't fit their story. He lied harder. He started reaching out to anyone who would listen. Friends, acquaintances, even people we hadn't spoken to in years, spinning this pathetic little tale about how I manipulated him, used him, destroyed his dreams. He painted himself as some kind of tragic hero, a poor broken man who had given everything, only to be cruelly tossed aside. The way he told it, you'd think he built the damn house with his bare hands, laid every brick, painted every wall. Meanwhile, the only thing Nick ever built in that house was a nest for himself, on the couch, surrounded by empty Red Bull cans and broken promises, and when the sob stories didn't get him enough sympathy, he started begging for money, telling friends he was starting over, that he just needed a little boost to get back on his feet. Some of them, bless their naive hearts, actually believed him, handed over cash, thinking they were helping a man rebuild his life. Guess where that money went? Straight into another one of his brilliant business ventures, which, shocker, crashed and burned in less than a week. But it didn't stop there. No, Nick took it even lower. He reached out to my family, messaged my sister, spinning some insane story about how I had secretly promised to give him half the house, claimed he was owed something because of all the work he put into our life. Work? The man didn't even know how to unclog a sink without calling me for help. And then, the cherry on top. One day, Caleb sent me a link, said, "You're not going to believe this." Nick had started a GoFundMe, titled, I swear to God, Help Nick Rebuild His Life After Betrayal, complete with a sob story about how he was wronged, left homeless, financially devastated. He even posted pictures of my house, acting like he had built it from the ground up. The same house he contributed nothing to, unless you count leaving stains on the couch and killing 2 houseplants. He managed to raise a few $100s before someone, probably Caleb again, reported the fundraiser and had it shut down. And after that, Nick started blowing up my phone. Long, unhinged texts, swinging from rage to begging to threats. Like somehow, after everything, he still thought he could guilt me into saving him. I didn't answer a single one, because by then, I wasn't angry anymore. I was disgusted. Disgusted that I had ever wasted my time, my love, my life, on someone who would rather light himself on fire than admit he was wrong. Nick didn't lose because of me. Nick lost because he was Nick, and now he was finally left alone, right where he put himself. By the time Nick's GoFundMe crashed and burned, you'd think there was nothing left for him to lose. No home, no money, no reputation. But people like Nick, they don't hit rock bottom gracefully. They flail. They drag everyone around them down, kicking and screaming, desperate for someone else to blame. And just when I thought he couldn't humiliate himself any further, he went and proved me wrong. Because when the friends stopped answering, when the lies stopped working, Nick did the one thing I never thought he would. He turned on his own family. And trust me, you're gonna want to hear what happened next. Stick around, it's about to get even uglier, and honestly, a little bit satisfying. You'd think after losing everything, friends, money, reputation, Nick would finally stop, take the L and move on. But Nick, he didn't know how to stop. When the sympathy dried up, when the doors started closing on him one by one, he turned to the last people he thought would save him, his parents. At first, he tried the same old tricks, the sob stories, the half-truths twisted into full-blown lies. He showed up at their house with nothing but a few trash bags and that same smug sense of entitlement. Told them he was reclaiming what was his. Told them I had stolen the house we built together. He even claimed he had proof. Some made-up verbal agreement, some fantasy where I had promised to split everything with him. His mum, bless her, called me the next day. We met for coffee, and when I saw the look on her face, I knew she wasn't buying his story either. She sat across from me, exhausted, defeated. "I don't know what happened to him," she said, shaking her head. "He's not the boy I raised." Turns out, Nick had been lying to everyone for months, building this web of nonsense even his own family didn't know about. He borrowed money from his little sister, promising he just needed a small loan to renovate his property, which, by the way, was still my house, the one he hadn't contributed a single dollar toward. He told his grandparents he was forced out unfairly and needed help fighting in court, There was no court case. There never was. He even went as far as guilt-tripping his own parents, blaming them for not supporting his dreams when they refused to bankroll yet another one of his schemes. And when they finally put their foot down, when they told him enough was enough, he lost it, screamed at his mum, cursed out his dad, stormed off into the night like a child throwing a tantrum, except there was no one left to pick up the pieces. That was the last straw for them. They changed the locks, cut off his phone plan, cancelled the credit cards they had stupidly left open in his name. Nick, the master manipulator, the eternal victim, was officially out of people to fool. He ended up sleeping in his car. Again. This time not in my driveway, but in the parking lot of some sad strip mall on the edge of town. Word spread fast. No one was taking his calls. No one was loaning him money. And the ones who did hear from him? They were greeted with a new version of the story, one where he was the lone warrior, bravely rebuilding his life after being betrayed by everyone he trusted. It would have been almost funny if it wasn't so pitiful. But here's the thing. I didn't feel sorry for him. Not anymore. Because Nick didn't just lose me. He lost everyone. His friends, his family, his safety nets. And it wasn't because of betrayal. It wasn't because of bad luck. It was because, for once, everyone finally saw through him. Everyone finally realised Nick was never a victim. Nick was the storm. And now, he was finally standing in the wreckage he spent years creating. Alone. Exactly where he belonged. Life didn't magically snap back to perfect after Nick was gone. There was no fireworks show, no triumphant ending. Just a slow, quiet return to something I hadn't felt in a long time. Normalcy. It took time. To stop waiting for the next apology that would never come. To stop replaying every conversation, wondering what I could have said or done differently. But slowly, the weight lifted. I went back to work without that constant knot of anxiety in my stomach. Started seeing friends again without feeling like I had to explain myself or apologise for what happened. Laughed without guilt. Slept without dread. The house felt different too. Not just quieter, but lighter. Like it could finally breathe again. And so could I. Nick's family moved on too. It wasn't easy for them. Letting go never is. But from what I hear, they finally stopped trying to rescue him. They let him figure out his own path, however long it might take. His mum and I even exchanged a few kind words not long ago. No bitterness. No blame. Just two people who cared, each in their own way, and learned, maybe the hard way, that love alone isn't always enough to save someone. Nick? Last I heard, he took a job out of state. Something simple, something honest. And maybe that's what he needed all along. A clean break, a fresh start. I don't hate him. I don't wish him harm. I genuinely hope he finds the version of himself he kept chasing all those years. As for me, I didn't rebuild some perfect, shiny life overnight. I just kept moving forward. One step at a time, one morning at a time. I made new memories in the house that used to feel so heavy. I planted a little garden in the backyard. Started cooking real meals again, instead of eating over the sink. Started laughing, really laughing, without that tight feeling in my chest. Life didn't get easier, but it got better, because it was mine again. And somewhere along the way, I realised the real victory wasn't proving anything to Nick, or to anyone else. It was remembering that I was never as small as he made me feel, that I deserved more, that I survived, and most importantly, that I'm still here. Still standing, still smiling, still moving forward, and maybe that's the happiest ending of all. Sometimes, the hardest battles we fight aren't against other people. They're against the part of ourselves that refuses to let go. Loving someone doesn't mean losing yourself. Supporting someone doesn't mean carrying their entire life on your back. There's a difference between patience and self-sacrifice, between loyalty and self-abandonment. You can believe in someone with your whole heart, but if they refuse to believe in themselves, if they refuse to grow, to meet you halfway, then loving them harder won't save them. It will only break you. True strength isn't about holding on to what hurts. It's about recognizing when it's time to walk away, even when your heart is still full. It's about rebuilding, not out of revenge, but out of love for yourself, because you are not responsible for saving anyone. You are only responsible for saving yourself. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can ever say is, "I choose me,"